As usual, I start this one with a little bit of boat maintenance, and then I get underway. It's my last few days of sailing up the Chesapeake before I pull my boat out of the water for a few months.
All right, got some work to do on the boat today. I've already done some. So I already actually oiled the teak again out there. It looks pretty good. So it looks pretty good here. I need to come back and like wipe off some of the drips of oil. I just got to get some water and rinse that off, but it looks pretty good. I still need to do the little eyebrow things, and I think this boat will look a lot better. But I'm liking it here just with the oil. I mean, it looks almost as good as having it varnished, but it's so much easier to do just once a month. I mean, it took me probably 30 or 40 minutes to oil the teak this morning. And you know, you do that once a month, and that's so much easier than, like, gosh, I mean, like having to do all the varnish and everything would take forever. It's that time of year again. The Tour de France is on. That's one of my favorite sporting events to watch. So I'm gonna stay in here where it's cool, and I'm gonna work on the generator. Problem is, you can see right here, this is the voltage right here. So when I hit that, see it's at 11.5, and that's because I'm plugged into shore power. It's not quite 11.5, and that's because I'm plugged into shore power. If it was just on battery alone, whatever, it'd probably be under 11. And so I'm thinking that's what happened is, because the generators will not stay running. So it's either, there could be three or four things that's shutting it down. Either the water temperature is getting high, the exhaust temperature is getting high, the oil pressure is getting low, or the voltage is getting low. I'm reading the water pressure, the water temperature. It never goes above 180, 190, and the cutoff's like at 205, so it's fine. The oil pressure is always above 30, and I think the cutoff's at like 10 or 7, something like that. And then the battery, so the voltage is definitely more than like 11.5. It's more like 13.5 because I'm reading the voltage on the battery, and the battery's like 13 volts. But there's probably like a bad ground or a bad wire or some corrosion. So the generator from the battery is only seeing like 10.5 volts. And I believe it shuts off at 11 volts. So that might be what's happening. So I'm gonna take off this panel here, and I'm gonna trace that wire all the way back to the battery and to the generator that lives underneath, and see if I can find either corrosion or a bad ground that's not letting it get the proper voltage.
It felt like I've been chasing my tail on this generator for months, and today was no different. Tracking down electrical gremlins.
There's something at the generator that's not putting out the proper power.
I thought I found some faulty wiring, so I was replacing it.
Okay, I'm gonna switch the load, like air conditioner, everything over to the generator and let it run. See if it runs, because normally it'll run for 10 or 15 minutes and shut off. But the voltage is reading normal now, so I'm hopeful that that's what it was. It was just a bad connection on there, and so it thought it was low voltage. All right, it is my next to last sail on this boat for about 2 months. Got one more stop on the way up to Solomon's, where I'm gonna keep the boat, pull it on the hard for 6-7 weeks. So today I'm gonna head up to, I believe it's Deltaville. It's about 40 miles, so I figure it'll take me 8-9 hours to get up there. Should be a good day for sailing. I'm planning to fly the spinnaker. We'll see once we get out there, but I got to go out and then turn the corner and head downwind, and then I'll see about putting the spinnaker out. So I already got the shore power disconnected. I'm gonna start the motor, get ready, and then I'm gonna call for assistance to get off the dock, because the wind's kind of blowing me off the dock into this boat, so I want to kind of be able to get out quickly. So I'm gonna start working on things and we'll get moving. All right, well, I was getting ready to go, and the motor died. So I don't know what's going on. So it's fuel. It sounds like it's fuel because it's like kind of bogging down and it's like not getting enough fuel. So, I mean, I did do a lot of work on the fuel system in the last stop. You know, I changed all the fuel filters and everything. So I'm gonna look into it, see what's going on. Holy shit. Wow. My primary fuel filters are full of water. See that? That's all water and nasty shit. My secondaries look pretty clean. I don't see any water in those. So I'm gonna drain all the shit out of there and refill it. So, I mean, it's pretty rolly, so I'm sure it sloshed up everything that was in the bottom of that tank. And so and then, you know, with the increased fuel flow from changing all the filters, it sucked up a lot more stuff. So let me empty all this and see what happens. All right, so I drained a lot of water out of there. You can see there's a little bit of fuel at the top of that, but that's nearly 2 quarts of water, and nasty water. You know, these are some pretty big fuel tanks, and you're in some pretty humid conditions. And so what happens is that, you know, water, you know, air condenses when it gets cold. And so there's air constantly moving in and out of the tanks because you have to have a vent, right? So you get air moving in and out of the tanks that's got water in the air, and then it gets cold and condenses and drips down into the fuel. And then the thing is that water is heavier than fuel, so it sinks down to the bottom, so it won't re-evaporate. If it was sitting on the top, it might evaporate again, but since it's on the bottom, it doesn't, so it just fills up that tank. Yeah, there was a lot of shit in there. All right, so I got the primary fuel filters changed. I primed the end motor again, so I filled up the primary filter bowls with fuel, closed those off, and then I opened up the top of the secondary filter just to see if there was any air like in those, and there wasn't really. So, and, you know, fuel came out the top of the secondaries pretty quick. So, all right, I'm gonna start the motors and let it run for a good 10 minutes. Make sure it's not gonna quit on me, because worst thing in the world would be to get halfway out of the slip and the motor dies, and then you're screwed. So,
The boys and I got off the dock safely, and it was pretty great conditions for sailing. I raised the mizzen sail and unfurled the Genoa, but kept the reef in it. The wind was over 20 knots and pushing us right along at over 7.
Prepare yourself, you know it's a must. Gonna have a friend in Jesus. So you know that when you die, he's gonna recommend you to the spirit in the sky. Won't recommend you to the spirit in the sky. That's where you're gonna go when you die.
the wind is much more out of the east than forecast. It's supposed to be more out of the south, but it's still good enough to sail. I'm about 90 degrees off of the wind, true. And I've got one reef in the Genoa and only the mizzen out full. I don't have the main at all. And it's blowing 15, 16, and I'm doing 6.5 knots. I'm telling you, if there's anything more than 12 knots of wind on this boat, you just don't need the mainsail. It's got enough with the Genoa and the mizzen, which makes it really easy to sail. And if it's less than 12 anyway, generally kind of motor sailing anyway. So it's just really easy to sail because of that. Putting up the main is a lot more of a chore. Putting up the mizzen is pretty easy. And it's just a lot easier to handle, especially single-handed. It's really easy to handle the sails. Speaking of which, I got to trim the Genoa, the mizzen, It might be all right, actually. I think it is all right. You know, my next to last sail on this boat for a while. It's a good one. Doing 7 knots on 15 to 20 with just the Genoa with one reef and the mizzen. And there's like a leopard, looks to be like a 45 next to me that I'm slowly passing. So, you know, this is a quick boat. People, it's a big, heavy boat. It's slower winds, that guy would probably leave me behind. But when strong winds like this, enough wind, I'm faster than he is for sure. Because it's got so much water line. But he's probably lighter than I am, and he's a cat. So in light winds, he's definitely gonna be faster. But yeah, it's I had my last cigar for the whole trip too. I brought just enough. This is the last one. Well, the wind's been over 20 knots now for a while, 20 to 23. I'm seeing 23 right now. Got a parent wind of 17, 18. It has shifted around behind us a little bit, which is nice. But it's a good thing about being in the Chesapeake is it's blowing 23 out here. The winds would be 4 or 5 feet, or the waves would be 4 or 5 feet, and they're 1 or 2 because we're in the Chesapeake. There's not enough fetch for the wind waves to build up into like true ocean swell, so it's not like super uncomfortable. We are heeled over a bit. We're heeled over about 15 degrees on average, up to 20, but you know, whatever. We're doing 7 knots, and we got a knot of current against us, so we would be doing 8 knots without the current. So we're moving right along.
I used some downtime on the sail to sand some teak. The pups weren't doing any work though, they were freeloading. But they're pretty dang cute. I was going to need to jibe as I got close to the destination, so I lowered the mizzen and furled in the headsail.
Merlin? How you doing? Yeah, he's a good boy. Merlin's a good boy. You a good boy. All right, so we got like 4 miles to go. I just jibed downwind to going straight to the inlet into Deltaville. Planning to just stay there one night, drop anchor, and you know, I'm not even gonna put the dinghy in the water. I might paddleboard ashore or something, but it's been a nice little sail. I mean, just motored till I got to where I could go downwind, and yeah, we're doing good. So, you know, 30 minutes to go. All right, good morning. Wind calmed down overnight, so it's only about 7 or 8 knots of breeze, so I might do some motor sailing today, we'll see, but heading about another 40, 50 miles up to Solomon's, and that's where I'm gonna haul out for about 6, 7 weeks, something like that. So yeah, I'm gonna get going. I was having generator problems again. It ran for several hours and then it keeps shutting off, and it's shutting off now. So used to, it was shutting off like it was bogging down on fuel. It was like fuel starvation. I think I got that solved now. And I thought it was the voltage thing, and that is still maybe better, but now it's shutting off for something else. It, you know, my temperatures read good, my pressures read good, but there's probably a bad sensor or a bad control box there that controls it that's telling the motor to shut down, because it's not like bogging down, it's just shutting off. Either there's a bad sensor or a bad controller there at the generator, which hopefully it's just a sensor. A controller, I don't know, it'll be a lot more expensive. I'm not going to mess with it now. I'll wait till I get to my anchorage tonight. I might even get a marina, so that problem is I can't run air conditioner, so it's going to be hot as shit while I'm trying to work on this down here. So I might try to get a marina, and then I'm going to park it where I'm hauling out tomorrow. All right, let's get underway, boys. You ready? You ready, boys? Okay.
Anyone that sailed the Chesapeake has had to deal with the mud.
Fortunately, that's what you got to watch out for here, is mud on your chain in the Chesapeake. All right, on the road again, it's 55 miles, so 8 hours to get up there. We're doing 7 knots. Wind's only 8 knots, so we're gonna motor. But that's okay. I need to charge the batteries anyway if I can't rely on my generator to charge it. I mean, it's just, yesterday I stayed on for like 2 hours and then it just wouldn't stay started. And it kept shutting down, like it wasn't bogging down. I don't know. It's got to be a sensor, like telling it to shut down, because I believe like the sensor that tells it to shut down and the sensor that goes to the gauges are different. But the gauges are all reading normal. So I don't know. When I get there tonight, if it's not too hot, I'll mess around with it. All right, 55 miles to go. Well, 50 some odd now. One thing being back in Chesapeake, gotta watch out for crab pots, man. 'Tis the season. But I just saw a dolphin swim up to our boat. There's a lot of crab pots, so I can't go up there to film it. But like, you know, I guess they can hunt in here, but like, I don't know. I wouldn't want to be a dolphin in murky water like this. You know, out in the open ocean, man, they can see forever and all that. Here, they can only see about 5 feet, if that. I don't know. Maybe they get lost in here and can't find their way out. I wouldn't want to stay in here if it was a dolphin.
It was kind of an overcast and crummy day, and we even had some rain. Eventually, the wind improved enough to motor sail. The skies cleared as we pulled up to the Solomons.
All right, just about made it to Solomon's. I got a couple miles to go, or a mile or so to go here into the channel. It's a really cool area, really well protected. A lot of restaurants and bars. I've been here a couple times before, really enjoyed it. So I'm looking forward to kind of exploring here. I'm not going to put the dinghy down. I'll just use the paddleboard to get around because it's easy enough. And I could put the dinghy down, but then lifting the dinghy on the deck by myself is doable, but a little hard. I'd rather just paddleboard around. That's fine, because I'm only going to be doing it for one day, really. Because maybe tomorrow I'm going to get on a dock, but I'm going to anchor out tonight. So, almost there. Boys, we're here. What do you think? All right, so the game plan right now is that I've been having generator issues. So I think what so I've got my whole panel out here. So the panel reads water temp, so coolant temp, it reads voltage, and it reads oil pressure. All of those are in the normal. The only thing I can't see that the generator does also read is the exhaust gas temp. Now that being said, all of these displays here, all these sensors are separate than the cutoff sensors. So like this has, for say the water temperature, it has a sensor there that'll tell me the water temperature, and it goes to that valve, to that gauge. Now then the cutoff, like if the water temperature exceeds 200 or whatever the limit is a separate sensor that you don't see the gauge on that. It's just a sensor. So what I'm going to do on this, because what's been happening is it's been running for an hour or so, and then once it gets warm, it's been shutting off. Now that could be either, my hypothesis is that the exhaust gas temperature is indeed getting too warm. There might need to clean out the exhaust elbow or something like that. Or the once the sensors that are connected, like the oil pressure sensor and the water temperature sensor, once those get warmed up by being on, they're connected to the motor, they don't read correctly because the gauges are reading correctly. At least I think so. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let the generator run until it finally cuts off, which will be an hour or so maybe, I don't know, hopefully. And then what I will do is once it's warm, then I will disconnect the sensors, the switches. So the high oil pressure switch, so that'll be the first one to do, is I'll disconnect the oil pressure switch. So that makes it where it assumes the oil pressure is good, and then I will let the generator run. If it continues to run, then I know that switch has gone bad because I can see the oil pressure is reading correctly on the gauge. If that doesn't work, then I do the same thing with the water temperature, like the coolant temperature. I do the same thing with that. I disconnect that gauge, that switch. If that corrects the problem, then I know that switch is bad. Okay, if none of those correct the problem, then it's probably more than likely the exhaust gas temperature, which I don't know if that's the switch or maybe there is a problem. So what I'll have to do at that point is take the mixing elbow apart, make sure it's all cleaned out, and then replace that switch, and then hopefully that's the problem. But for now, I'm going to turn this on so I can get air conditioner. You can see the voltage is good, the oil pressure is good, and the water temperature will come up in a little bit. One thing I can do here is I'm going to sit here by the generator, and when it starts to turn off, I'm going to hit the override switch, and that'll tell me if it's being shut down from an override, which I'm sure it is, from a fault. Of course, it's not going to do it now. But I just did that. So what happened is I was standing right here, I started the generator, it ran for about 30 seconds, and I'm still standing here, and it shuts off. I can hear it dying. So I hit the override switch, which is this one right here, that bypasses the switches that turn the thing off. And the reason you have that is because you have to hold that down when you're starting it because it's not getting oil pressure, it's not getting oil temp and pressure and all that stuff. So you have to override that while you're starting it and let it spool up and let the oil pressure come in, and then you let that go, and then you let the sensors and the switches do their thing. But what I just did is I had it running for about 30 seconds, the generator started to die, so I hit this override and it started right back up. So one of the switches, the oil pressure, the water, or the exhaust temp, is turning the generator off. So what I need to do is systematically try each of those to figure out which one it is. But right now it's working and got AC running. Maybe it'll run for a little while because I overrode that switch. I spent the last hour, I'm sweating my butt off because I haven't had AC in here, but I think I've got the generator fixed. I checked the oil pressure switch, that wasn't it. I checked the water temperature switch, that wasn't it. I checked the exhaust temp switch, that wasn't it. I changed out the shutdown relay with one of the preheat relays, and then it's been running a lot better. And it has been running, but now, it ran for about 10 minutes, but now like when I click here on the panel, like nothing happens. So something's weird. Like a second ago, this switch wasn't doing anything. All right, seems to be working now. So it might have been the bad relay. I don't remember if I mentioned that before. I was kind of getting to it. So there was a bad relay, the shutdown relay. I switched that out with the priming relay, the preheat relay, because you don't really need it here unless it's really cold. Anyway, it started working and running fine, and it would run for a while, and then it would just shut off. And then it would not start, like the whole panel was dead. So there was a bad connection somewhere. What I did is I opened up the control box for the generator and just jiggled around the wiring, like grabbed all the wiring harnesses, jiggled them and whatever, moved all the grounds and make sure they're good, and now it's been running for 15 minutes. So there was a bad connection there somewhere. So like all this, what I really need to do eventually is just like take that whole control box apart, like, and clean all the connections and put it all together. I'm not doing that tonight. It's beer 30. It's been beer 30. I've already been doing that. So I'm gonna button all this up, and at least I have air conditioning tonight. All right, packing up here. It's 10 o'clock. I got a haul out scheduled at 10:30. I've already been kind of taking care of the boat. I pulled down my paddle boards. I tied up all my sail bags and kind of put away some lines and stuff to, kind of get the boat ready to be on the hard for 6-8 weeks. So, yeah, and I got to say I've been running the generator now for about 48 hours, which is nice. Just I don't have to. I finally got it fixed. I've been dealing with that thing for months now, and it was just a bad relay. So anyway. All right, so I'm gonna start up the motor. It's kind of a pain here in the Chesapeake because it's such a muddy bottom that you have to like wash down your anchor chain. It takes forever to pull up your anchor because it takes a long time to wash all the mud out of the chain. You don't want to bring it onto the boat. But anyway, I am gonna get ready now. Oh shit. What the f***? My engine just died, and it took me a while to get. I think it was fuel related. I'm gonna have to look into that. There might be like I think there is a I noticed it on the secondary fill filter. One of the fittings was a little loose. It's probably letting a little air in there. And so like, when you haven't run it for a while, it's kind of letting air in the system. So I think I'm gonna have to address that. I'm gonna get back. I almost ran into this little island here. I'm sitting there drifting towards it and the engine wouldn't start. Luckily I got it started. I mean, I don't know what I was gonna do. It wouldn't have been the end of the world. I mean, I wasn't going but a knot and a half, but it still would have hurt.
I pulled up to the boatyard at the end of the bay.
All right, these guys are about to haul it out. Hopefully, it's always a little nerve-wracking. I mean, it's been hauled out a million times, but you still want them to drop it.
This is a travel lift. It's basically a rolling crane that picks boats up out of the water. Even though they do this every day, it's always a little bit nerve-wracking. They roll the boat on land and then give it a little power wash before rolling it to its parking space. I'd say my bottom paint from Total Boat was looking pretty good, even though I haven't scrubbed it once.
I'd say that bottom looks pretty good. I didn't scrub the bottom one single time, and it still looks really good. They're pressure washed and again a little bit of the growth. But most of that growth happened when I sat in the marina for 3 weeks. If you keep the boat moving, you're not gonna get a whole lot of growth as long as you got good bottom paint. So I got this bottom paint, it's the 2-year stuff. I'm really happy with how long it's lasted. Maintenance free basically for 6 months, more than 6 months. or right around 6 months. And so total boat, there's a link in the description for 5% off. So I really like the stuff.
The workers moved the boat to the shipyard where it was going to sit on land for the next 2 months.
So this will be the next 6 weeks. It'll be sitting here on the hard. The guys went to lunch. They'll, you know, get it all shored up and everything. Right now I got a 6-hour drive. Well, first off, I'm really happy with the bottom paint is looking really good. Not too bad at all. I mean, I haven't even scrubbed it once. And it looks really good. There was very little growth on it. They just did a little bit of pressure washing when they pulled it out, which is kind of normal. And then also the prop speed is looking pretty good. So that's the coating, like the silicone coating that goes over the prop. It's looking pretty good. The zincs are looking pretty good too. I'm not even gonna bother replacing them for next time. You know, maybe I'll replace them in October. All right, that is a wrap for this part of Sailing Doodles. I don't think I'm gonna start a new season on the next one. It'll be, because we're gonna still be in the same boat for about 6 weeks. I'm gonna go up to New York and do Block Island and all that stuff, so that'll be fun. I'm not sure who the crew is of that is gonna be yet, but actually I have some good ideas. And I'm talking to a few people. It could be somebody you know. It could be a lot of fun, so we're gonna check that out. So thanks for watching. So if you'd like to follow along now, I have another channel called Glamping Doodles. So this is my Class A RV, and I'm about to do some work on it. But I'm gonna get it ready and we're gonna go cruise around for a little bit, or I am. So if you'd like to follow along on that, you can go to check out Glamping Doodles on YouTube. So thank you guys for watching. It's our patrons and channel members and the Sailing Doodles Navy. They get early access to the videos as well as weekly exclusive updates on what's going on behind the scenes footage. So if you'd like to get some of that and help out, you really can. It'd be, there's a link down below for it. So thanks guys, we'll see you on the next video.